Hello and welcome back to another episode of the SuperCoach Corner podcast. Here we are for the second time this year. After doing our first initial team reveal last week, Tice, it's now to jump into the big dogs. We're going to be reviewing line by line and cherry picking what we think will be the top 6, top 8, top 10 at each line at the end of the year. I'm sure we'll nail it in January. What do you think?
Yeah, have to go the super early predictions and nail them bang on 100%. That's why we take out the 50k every year. But yeah, no, we'll have to do our best to see, and maybe have to come back to it at the end of the year as well.
Yeah, I can only imagine if we did the exact same thing before round one, it'll change a little bit. But look, this is where we're sitting now, and this is what we're sort of paying reference to when making our teams this preseason and any changes that we're making throughout the preseason. So, like I touched on, Tice, we'll start with the defenders, go into the midfield, rucks and forwards. Top 8 for each of the defenders and the forwards. Top 10 for the midfielders, and then the top 3 for the rucks. And we'll chuck in any honourable mentions that we might find necessary. I'm happy to jump straight into it, unless there's anything else you want to touch on before we get stuck in.
No, let's just get straight into it.
Perfect, mate. We'll go from the top, from the defence. We'll go from 8 down. Just so everyone knows, we don't know each other's lineup as well. So this is all new to each other. So I'm sure there'll be a couple of curveballs here and there, which I'm excited to get handed to me. And I'm excited to hear what your teams are like, or what your top 8 is like. But we'll start with number 8, Tice. We'll go start from 8 and go down to number 1. Who's your 8th? Who do you predict to be the 8th best defender this year?
I've got the 8th best defender to be Callum Mills at the moment. I just think his seasons in the past when he played full midfield was just too hard to go past, and I'm very tempted to pick him this year. He's not currently in my side, but in 2023 he averaged like 117. So I think he's a smoky that people are missing. What about your number 8?
Yeah, I love that one. I'll get to him shortly. But my number 8 is Lockie Ash. Just someone that flew under the radar for a majority of last year and just was consistent throughout the whole year. Maybe have 1 or 2 down games where he got a bit of attention. But the role in a pretty consistent Giants outfit is there, and it's just hard to argue. He's getting that cheap ball off halfback, which is exactly what you want as a super coacher. I think him and Whitfield will have a great year again together and pair up really nicely. So as much as I didn't buy into it last year, I bought into it early now, and I think he'll round out the top 8. So I've got him at number 8. What about number 7, mate?
Yeah, number 7 for me, I've gone Jordan Clark. I feel like another preseason of him going off halfback. Being the sole distributor for Freo, they used Luke Ryan less last year, so I feel like he's going to be the main guy and get a lot of the ball off halfback for Freo. So, yeah, it's too hard to go past. What about your number 7?
Very good, mate. I think that could be the bit of a trend going here. I think it'll be a lot of similar players, maybe a little bit of a different order. But at number 7, I think sliding a little bit from 2025 is Jack Sinclair. Don't ask me why. I think he had a great year last year, and even with Naz going into the midfield, I think that role could be freed up even more for him of halfback if he keeps that there. But I just think with the changes going around, that they've had a few personnel changes, and I'm not quite sold that he'll push into that top 4 again, but I think he'll definitely be well and truly up there and a good selection to start the year.
Yeah, that's fair. He might feature a little bit later for me. Number 6 for me is Bailey Dale. I think he's just too hard to go past. It's the only thing I don't like is when they randomly throw him forward or something like that, Bevo being Bevo. But Bailey Dale, I think, is too hard to go past. Racked up, 50 or 49 possessions in that one game last year. So, yeah, he's just a ball magnet.
Yeah, I love it. I love Bailey Dale. I've always had a huge man crush on Bailey Dale, and I love the way that he plays footy. So I think you'll see he'll also feature in mine shortly. At number 6, I've got your man that you just mentioned, number 7. So I've got Jordan Clark sliding at number 6 again. I agree wholeheartedly with what you said. I think the way that Freo are trying to lean towards playing their footy, what they did last year, I think they'll even lean more into it this year, is that really aggressive role of halfback from Jordan Clark will be used even more. So I think he'll have a big year coming off an All-Australian last year. What about number 5, mate?
Number 5, I've gone one of my favourites in Lockie Whitfield. I mentioned before I'm going to have Lockie Ash in later on, and he's gone above Lockie Whitfield for me. Whitfield got moved around a little bit towards the back end of last year. I think they were just experimenting and throwing some stuff around, but with how GWS play, it's both Lockie Ash and Whitfield just rack up the pill. That's just how they play. They use both of their running halfbacks, and he's in for another big year. It's just the odd thing that they might throw around here and there is what's put me down at 5. What about your number 5?
That's fair. I'm just following you, but a number later, I got Bailey Dale at number 5. So, like I said, I love Bailey Dale. You said he can be thrown around a little bit. It's probably the one asterisk. He's a great ball user and has that really nice role. So he's what I predict to be the 5th best defender. Number 4, Tice?
Well, number 4, pretty much just touched on as well, Lockie Ash. He's my number 4. I think they're going to try and use him more as Whitfield gets older as well. So don't need to speak too much more on him. You nailed all the points on Lockie Ash as well. He's just a ball distributing beast. So we'll see who gets the kickouts, and if he gets kickouts, he might even go up. More on this list.
It's a huge one. They shared it pretty evenly last year, so it'll be interesting, especially with. I mean, Josh Kelly's out for a big chunk of next year, or this year, sorry. So does that lean to Lockie Whitfield pushing up the ground a little bit more? And he played a little bit on the wing last year. So, you could be right. In saying that, at my number 4, I've got Lockie Whitfield. Again, following you one player later. So I've had this bad habit, Tice, the last few years. I don't buy into Whitfield. I just think he can't keep it up, and he always does. And I've never been an owner. I've always been a chaser, and it's been a hard one. It's been a hard antipod the last couple of years. So he's one that I think you just got to trust him now. He's done it for so long at such a high standard. I think he'll keep that up. So I've got him at number 4. Number 3 for you, mate.
Whitfield. I've always been the one that's had him, so I have no complaints there. Number 3 for me, I've got Jack Sinclair. With Nas moving into the midfield, which is the point you raised, I really like this pick. And I think a lot of people might be sleeping on him this year. I don't know the ownership actually, but I could be one that sneaks into my side for sure.
Yeah, fair. Well, I think unless there's any huge curveballs, it just seems like we've gone the same 8 players in different order here. And number 3, I've actually gone Callum Mills. So obviously a big jump from your number 8 that you've got, but I'm really buying into the Callum Mills train this year. I think we saw if he played off halfback like he did last year, he was the guy that wanted to use the ball through him. He took the kickouts, he got cheap touches off halfback, a lot of kick mark. And then, like you said, a couple of years ago, we've seen if he goes into a full-time midfield position, he can dominate even more doing that. So the role's not really a worry for me there. He's going to play good footy and score really well wherever he is. Which just gives me more confidence going into the year with Callum Mills. Only little question mark is his body. He's had huge body issues the last few years, but I don't know. A few of them have been innocuous, like contact injuries that don't happen all that often. It's not like he's doing a hammy every 3rd week. So that's only a little question mark, but I really like the Callum Mills pick, and I think doing this ranking really convinced me into starting him at the year. I'm super keen on Callum Mills. Moving into the top 2, mate, I can only assume that we have the same 2 players. I also like to assume they're the same order, but I'd love to know if I'm wrong. So number 2, who have you got?
Yeah, number 2, I've got Darcy Moore. He's going to really kick us. I've definitely gone Connor Rosie at number 2. His run and dash off halfback when we saw him playing halfback for Port was unreal. He was so good. And with a full preseason of him going off halfback, not touching the midfield, which is the role we want, if that is the case, he is going to dominate and tear up the park at 568k. It's pretty easy buying for me.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. My number 2 is also Connor Rosie for every reason you just said as well. So I think he will dominate this year. And I think he sits firmly up the top with the number 1 defender. I can only assume we've got the same guy. It's Nazai Wanganimulira sitting at the top. The way he finished off last year was incredible, and I can only guessed that he's going to do the exact same thing this year. So, there was he was the first one to go in doing all these rankings. I think that was the one non-negotiable for me, that he was going to top the defensive line.
Yeah. Same for me. Like, it's Nas. Even if he plays off halfback, he's going to be number one defender. Like, it doesn't really matter where you play him. He just showed his talent at the back end of last year. Just was unbelievable to watch. So, that rounds out the top 8. What do you have any honourable mentions that have maybe just missed your top 8 that you want to touch on?
Yeah, I mean, Darcy Moore was close for me as well. I just had him missing the top 8. No, I think Nick Blakey's one that I've always been pretty hot on. I really like the way that he plays his footy, and it's hard with Cal Mills to see how they work together, but I think he will have a big year. And Trent Rivers is one, Tice. It's a bit of a left field one. He's sitting at about 430k. Huge personnel changes at that Melbourne lineup this year. Chris Petrarca, Clayton Oliver, those sort of guys leaving the team. Jack Steele's obviously coming in, but I think it makes way for Trent Rivers to move himself into that midfield and really prove himself as a mainstay midfielder. If that happens, which I think it will, I think he can really boom his scoring, which he's shown in glimpses in the past couple of seasons when he goes in the midfield, and could prove to be a top 8 defender. It is a bit of a left field pick, which is why I couldn't find him into that top 8, but he's one that I'm definitely keeping an eye on through the preseason. What about you? Any honourable mentions for yourself?
I had Trent Rivers at 9, so I really like the pick. I'm now leaning to him more over Miles Bergman now in my starting lineup. So just with Bergman looking like he's going to play a defensive midfield role, not that it sort of affected him too much at the back end of last year. He still showed that he could play that defensive role well for SuperCoach. So there's probably no surprises that Bergman was number 10 for me. And then another one that I think could easily make this list is Tom McCarthy, actually. All reports are saying that he is dominating as a midfielder at the West Coast Eagles, only training as a midfielder. We saw how good he was coming in midway through last year, playing off halfback, and apparently he's dominated midfield. So I don't know. It wouldn't be a shock to me, actually, from what I'm hearing.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think he even played the last couple of games through the midfield and looked really good at centre bounces. So with not much experience there in his professional career. So if it's something that he can work on, I think he could really add that to his bow. Also, quick shout out, Ryan Marich. Who knows, mate? The GOAT of 2025. Could he make his way back up to the top 8? Who knows? If they can just give him half back and let him take the kickouts for the whole year, I'd be more than happy to pick him in my team. But no, just if you're a loyal listener, you know from last year he was one of our guys. He was the face of the pod for the whole of 2025. So I've got to give him a shout out before we move our way into the midfield, Tice.
Yeah. Moving into the midfield, we'll do a top 10 here for the midfield. So actually, you can start us off on this one. Who's your number 10 in the midfield?
Thanks, mate. Thanks for letting me kick us off here. My number 10 is the man who really broke out last year. Obviously, had played good footy beforehand, but Ed Richards had an incredible year last year, both SuperCoach-wise and just in general football sense as well. I can only assume that he'll do the exact same thing this year and be that sort of 1-2 hit consistent guy in the midfield with Bond as the Dogs try and push towards another finals tilt. So, I love the way Ed Richards plays his game, and he just took his game to its next level last year. And I don't see any reason why he won't be there again. So it kind of hurt to not have him higher, but I think you'll see throughout the top 10, there's a lot of quality talent in the midfield line. It's sort of hard to differentiate them all. So, I've got him at 10. What about you, mate?
Yeah, number 10 for me is Matt Real, the Brownlow medalist. So I feel like just another season under his belt, he will take his game to another level and more consistency. Like we saw a bit more consistency from him last year. And if he can just keep that up to the high-end games like he did through that middle way through the year, when he dropped down to that low price and people that jumped on really reaped the rewards there. So if he can keep that up, which I believe he will, yeah, he's easily going to go a long way and make this top 10 pretty easily. So I did have him higher. I think there's just too much talent up there. So, yeah.
Fair.
Yeah, that's it for me. What about your number 9?
Number 9, probably you could say it's pretty low, but I got Finn Callahan. His ceiling last year was huge, and I think he will probably even go to a higher level this year, as long as he can keep his body right. He's shown how good he can be. So, yeah, I wanted him higher as well, but I've just got guys I'm more confident in. Callahan hasn't had the consistency at the level yet, so it was hard for me to really convince myself that he's going to be a top 5 midfielder this year. But I definitely think he's going to be up there, and sitting at number 9. If you're going to start with him, you'd be happy with a top 10 finish. So yeah, Finn Callahan, I think, is a talent. I think he will finish 9th this year, mate. What about you?
Okay, so now we have confirmed we're not doing the same players. Finn Callahan has not made my top 10. Okay. That's a little spoiler. So, yeah, I just think from the fact Clayton Oliver's come in, I feel like it's not going to help them more because GWS already score a lot more points. It's just going to share the points more. In my opinion, look, I'm happy to be wrong on that one because I do love the GWS midfield and I'll pick any of them. So, yeah, look, if Callahan's up there, I'll pick Callahan. But my number 9 is actually a crosstown rival for Finn Callahan in Isaac Heaney. I feel like people forget how good the Swans are when they're going. And they had a lot of injuries last year. Or just not playing that consistent footy. And once they're on, now they've got Charlie Curnow there. Like, they're going to be a force to be reckoned with, I think. And I think Heaney's going to be the one that leads from the front.
Yeah, I love that one. I think he'll feature later in mine. I think with Charlie Curnow being an addition to that side, you can only see Heaney play a little bit more midfield. They won't need him to go deep when they're desperate of goals as much. So, which will only be good for his scoring. So, yeah, I do love that. My number 8, Tice, I'll move on, is Caleb Sarong. He's currently in my side. I think he's at a really good price, and he's just a consistent performer. Last year, his consistency was never an issue. He was really consistent throughout the whole of 2025. Struggled a little bit with producing the big scores that you'd want from your higher midfielders, but he showed in 2024 that he could do it. We know how good he can be, and he really got back to his best towards the end of last year. So he's one that I expect a sort of a bounce back season from, even though I think he was All-Australian. But that's the high standards that he set himself. I think Freo will take their game to the next level, and I think Caleb Sarong will be a huge part in that. So I've got him at number 8. What about you, Tice?
Yeah, nice. Like that. Number 8 for me is Ed Richards, we've already touched on. So just another year in the midfield. It's his second preseason in the midfield. And Bond's going to need someone to come with him. Chalor's getting older. Libba's getting older. Why not? Yeah, it's Ed Richards, I think. So, we've already touched on a lot of Ed Richards. Let's just move on to number 7.
Yep, love it. Number 7, I've got a man who I can only assume, and I could probably put a huge bet on that he's featured somewhere in your top 5 or at least in your top 7. I got Noah Anderson. I know you're a huge fan of Noah Anderson. I think he'll carry on from last year. I know he was sort of outshone a little bit by Matt Rowell in his Brownlow year, but Noah put together a really good year, and I think he struggles or has struggled in the past a lot with getting defensive attention from opposition midfielders. I think with the limelight that Rowell gets now, it might go a little bit more towards him, which could free up Anderson even more. So I've got him having a big year and finishing number 7.
Yeah, no, that's fair. No spoilers here, but yeah, he probably features. Number 7 for me, I've gone Hugh McCluggage. I think that Lachie Neale's getting a bit older and obviously had the stuff going on and maybe going to Perth, but Hugh McCluggage showed last year he's at 646k for a reason. He averaged just ridiculous. He was nearly 120 average across the whole year last year. Just was consistent games of 115, 110 plus, without fail. So whether he or Neale is the main guy that other teams target is just something to see, but McCluggage is just going to take his game to the next level as he gets more experience. So I like McCluggage at 7.
Very good, mate. He doesn't feature in my top 10, so that might be our one difference that we have. I'm a bit scared of the Lions. I know they can have 2 flags, but there's a lot of controversy going around up in Brisbane at the moment. So who knows how they're going to bounce back from that. But look, I'm sure he will have a huge season, as he always does. At number 6, I've got Isaac Heaney. Yep, already touched on him. I think he's in for a huge year. I think he's a really good point of difference to start the year as well. So, yeah, I think he'll be massive.
Yeah, I want to be looking at Heaney. As we're recording, looking at putting him in my side because he's massive point of difference. And the more we speak about him, the more I want him in my side. Number 6 for me, I've gone Bailey Smith. I feel like there was a lot of limelight on him for Supercoach because he was a forward last year. And the fact that he is just a mid, it was the same with Heaney the year before. He was so good as a forward, just slept on as a midfielder and was still so good last year. I think the same thing is going to happen, if not be better, because Geelong are good. He's the main guy. He just racks up possessions for fun. Yeah, it's Bailey Smith for me at 6. Is that a surprise to you?
Yeah, a bit of a surprise. I didn't have him in my top 10. I've just got, a bit of question marks around the addition of James Warble. Does that impact him at all? Does Tanner Bruin's inclusion impact him at all? I don't think it will, but they'll just have, they were really light on the midfield last year. And does adding that depth affect how many points he gets? It might not, but it was too much for a question mark, especially with the names we've ruled off so far. So he could well and truly do exactly what he did last year, and I wouldn't be surprised. But there's a couple question marks for me. At number 5, Tice, starting off our top 5, I have Matt Rowell. So I just think watching him last year dominate, he gets so many points. He doesn't need to do much to get points. Just the way that he plays footy just lends to a good Supercoach player. Just gets inside contested balls, clearances, tackles. It's going to be hard for him to be kept out of the game. He's been a big confidence player for a lot of his career. His confidence now would be at an all-time high. I know there's been more midfielders added to that with the addition of Petrarca. And I just don't think that affects Rowell. I think he has a huge year. So I've got him at 5. Who have you got at 5?
Yeah. My 5th is Caleb Sarong. You mentioned him being super consistent last year and hitting the ceilings the year before. That is exactly, I think, why I've put him here. He's just going to put it all together. Last year, he was tagged a lot and still producing hundreds, low hundreds, but he was tagged so much in the first half of the season. I think people are forgetting that. At 571K, he's currently sitting in my side. I can't go past that. Caleb Sarong.
Perfect, mate. Number 4, I've got probably a bit of a left field one that this will be, I assume, our last sort of different player. But I think I'm against the crowd with this. I'm really backing this guy and to have a huge year. Zach Merritt, I think he bounces back from the off-season controversy, wanting to get away from the club. I just think he's too proud of a man. And I think he'll want to show everyone how good he is. He's there now. He's a great leader. He's a great player. He's their only midfielder. Nick Martin's dead. I think I just expect exactly what we've got from Merritt over the last 3, 4, 5 years. I don't see why we won't get that plus more this year.
Yeah, it's just I don't know. It's the fact he's getting older.
A bit of backlash on this one.
I do agree with he's getting a bit older, but he's also playing for a contract next year with Hawthorn, provided he goes. It seems like he's going to go. But then Essendon know that he's probably going to go, and they might just throw him around and test what they've got with Parrish and Caldwell and, their own midfield with Dyson Sharp coming in, who they rate really highly. I feel like Merritt's going to play more of, say, a 50-50 midfield half-forward role. Not that he's not a good half-forward. He's going to still rack up possessions for fun. I just didn't see him making my top 10. It was close, but when you've got Rowell at number 10 and you were just bigging up Rowell, it was hard for him to push past Matt Rowell. So I don't hate it. I think it's just a bit high. Yeah. That's fair enough. That's it for me. But my number 4, and I imagine our top 3 is going to be the same, and as it's the same probably most years. Well, it was the same last year. But Noah Anderson for me is number 4. I am a big Noah Anderson man.
Oh,
I think
shock.
that the attention's going to go to Real. It's gonna be a big year for Noah Anderson. Just stepping up his game again. He's not currently in my side. I'm trying to figure out a way in, but I know that they've got the early buy, so he's one I'm going to be targeting early though.
Very good, very good. Yeah, like we touched on, mate. I think we've probably got the same top 3 players, but we'll go through them and see if the order's the same. At 3, probably a little bit controversial. I've got Bont. Who knows? We've been waiting for Bont to fall off for so long. Is this the year he falls off? I'm sort of guessing a tiny bit. I think these two might overtake him, the two above him, but I still think he'll be in a league of his own. So yeah, I've got Bont at 3.
You have put Bont at 3, I reckon, last year as well, and the year before. You were like, nah, he's not going to keep doing it.
Right.
You're probably going to eat your words again, but I've got Bont at 3 as well.
Hey,
so
there we go.
I think Bont. There's nothing like against the Bont. He is the Bont. He gets points for breathing from SuperCoach. So he's just so good. I don't know what else to say about the Bont. He's just him. It's just that I think the other two step up their game and he might regress a tiny bit. Obviously, people are going to target the Bont throughout the year. You're going to want him to finish your side, but you can't start him, I don't think, at 707k. He's at 3 for me, and I'm interested to see who's number 1 and 2 for you. What do you got, Das?
I'll reel them off both. So I got 2. I mean, you could argue there's a little bit of bias here, but at 2 I got Butters, and at 1 I got Nick Dacos. I think Nick, as hard as it's believe, I think Nick will step his game up even more this year, and I think his SuperCoach scores will reflect that. I won't be surprised if Butters tops the scoring. I think Butters is also in for a huge year. I'm not starting Nick at this stage just due to his early buy, but I think we spoke about in our team reveals that Butters is one of our first picked. We're just expecting to have a huge year this year. So, Butters playing for a contract end of the year. I think a lot of the rumors are that he'll come back to Melbourne. And I think he wants as much money on that contract as he can, while also he's a proud man, Butters. So I think he wants to give his all to Port, the club who drafted him, while he's still there. So I think he'll have a big year. And like I said, I think Nick will step up even further than what he has done. What about you? Same order, or have you flipped them around?
No, I have flipped him around. For all the reasons that you labelled on Butters, you were sitting on Butters for a lot longer than Dacos, so that probably means he probably should be at number 1. But
no.
I've gone Butters number 1. Contract year, like you said, he's a proud man, like you said, and I think Port bounce back and are actually more competitive this year as well. Probably even getting close to pushing that top 4. I don't think they'll make it, but they should play finals. So
SuperCoach Corner I really rate the Port prediction.
They finally look like they finally look like they're going to put people in positions and keep them there. Like with Rosie at halfback, they're going to play Horn Francis through the midfield with Butters, with Bergman. They've got a lot of players that go through there. I think Will Brodie's so underrated that he's actually going to boost that side a lot more than people think. I think Port are very good. But there's nothing to take off Nick Dacos. He's just going to take his game to another level. He's just so good. It's good to see a young talent like this. We're going to watch him for the next decade, just dominate the game. So I'm sure he's going to be number 1 at some point throughout this year.
Yeah. I couldn't agree more, mate. Well, with that, is there any honourable mentions? Any guys that just missed your top 10 list that you wanted to give a little bit of a shout out to or keep an eye on throughout the preseason?
Yeah, another one of the players that I'm a big fan of is Jordan Dawson. He just missed my top 10. I feel like Adelaide is still going to be very good this year as well. They won't finish top of the ladder, but Dawson will definitely have a lot to say for that side, leading from the front. So he's probably the only one that I really was probably, stiff to not make my top 10. What about you? You got any honourable mentions?
Yeah, a couple. we spoke about it briefly off the camera, Tice. Jai Caldwell, I don't think he'll push top 10, but I think he's in for a huge year. I think he's flying well into the under the radar. I think his numbers when he's played midfield and stayed on the path the last couple of years have been huge and stacked up against some of the big dogs. So he's had body issues. He has been thrown around a little bit, but I think with where Essendon are at, they'll need him to play big midfield minutes. And if he gets his body right, if he pushes, that 8 to 12 range, I wouldn't be so surprised. And then one with a little bit of probably my man love creeping in. I pick him every year, but LDU, I'm just expecting a boom year for LDU. I think North need to. This is a huge year for the North Melbourne Footy Club, and I think they really need to win some more games. And I think LDU will have to be the guy that leads from the front there. He's finally got some help in the midfield. I think Sheezel showed the back half of last year, the last 5-6 rounds, and he's the guy going forward. If George Wardlaw can keep his body right, same goes. He's got other guys around him. I think, he can really shine. So, look, he's probably going to hover around 15, 16 like he has the last 3-4 years and show glimpses of what he can be. But I'd love to keep an eye on him. I'm not going to start him because I can't do it. But no, that's it for me. There's a couple of names that I wanted to reel off. But with that, mate, we'll move on to the ruck line, which I don't know about you. For me, it was probably the hardest line. Normally, you've got a few guys standing out that are above the rest in terms of the rucks. We'll do a top 3, but with a couple of the new ruck rules, no boundary throw-ins between the arcs, and no centre bounce, just to throw up at the centre circle. It's sort of hard to tell how that's going to impact Supercoach scoring. So it was hard to guess the top 3, but I can guarantee you I got them right, like I have my other players. So I'll get you to start. Who have you got at 3?
Yeah, it's going to be hard. Like, there's less wrestling as well in the ruck. So that probably hinders like your Kieran Briggs and your Toby Nankervis, those kind of bodyer type ruckman. But yeah, it's kind of I guess you're taking a punt on anyone here. We don't know how it's going to affect the scoring until we see some practice matches. And then that's when we'll get a good gist before the season starts. And then we'll obviously see how it goes through the season. But my number 3, I've gone Luke Jackson. There's big talk of him going through the midfield at Freo and not playing as a ruckman, which I actually really like. Imagine like a big 2-meter guy just running through, so athletic. He could easily creep up to number 1 if he is solidified as a midfielder for me. I actually prefer the midfield role. What about you?
Yep, I do love Luke Jackson. At 3, though, I've got Brodie Grundy. I think he continues for next year. I think he's one of the guys that the new rules sort of help out. So I think he's in this top 3. Whereabouts is completely up to you, but I think he'll have a big year. And he's basically an extra midfielder at the end of the day anyway, and has been his whole career. So he'll continue to rack up the ball and provide an extra number around the ground for Sydney, which I think won't really affect his Supercoach score too much. What number 2, mate?
Number 2 for me, I've gone Grundy. For all the reasons you said, plus with Sydney coming up, this top 3 you could put in any order, and I'd like it for me. So yeah, it's currently Grundy second for me. I'm looking to see if I start him at this point in time, but he's not currently on my side. What about your number 2?
My number 2 is Max Gawn. I think it's just it's hard to go past him. Obviously, he's a great tap ruckman and has scored a lot of his points, but we know how good he is sitting behind the ball and taking those intercept marks, and it's where he does get a lot of his points. So I don't think he's still got that ceiling there and still got that capability of sitting behind the ball and setting up their defense. So, people bet it against Max Gawn last year, and look how that turned out. So I don't want to be one of those guys. I was one of those guys. I didn't have him in my top 3 last year. It just bit me in the ass. So, I'm backing in Maxi for number 2. What about you? What have you got?
I really like Max Gawn as well for the reasons you said. And with Clayton Oliver and Petrarca leaving, who's going to score the points for Melbourne? Like, it's going to be Max Gawn. It's got to be Max Gawn through there. So, I definitely can't disagree with that, but he has not made my top 3. My number 1, who's currently in my side, but I'm definitely not set on him, is Tristan Cherry. I feel like the ruck rules to an extent won't impact as much as everyone is talking about. I know we were just saying it might, but I feel like Tristan Cherry, just with another year under his belt, at the top of his game, he's just so good. Yeah, it might be a little bit less stoppages where he misses out on a few tackles here or there, but he's just going to be a beast running after the ball. He's going to run the other Ruckman rabbit. So, yeah, he's my number one for me. What about you?
Yeah, it is. It's hard to bet against Tristan Cherry. He's definitely one that just missed my top three. Like you mentioned briefly, I think with the new rules, it could just lend to, 2 less tackles and 2 less clearances, or, 3 less tackles and 2 less clearances a game, which could decrease his score by 15, 20 points. And that was what was setting him apart, that 15, 20 points. So I don't know. I just think he could be the one that's really impacted the most, but we are just really guessing. And he could maybe fall back down to the pack, but who knows? He was definitely in my 4. He definitely just missed out. My number 1, I've got Luke Jackson. For everything that you mentioned, I think he's just that extra midfielder. I think it's a safe pick. Hasn't really been floated with forward too much in preseason. So you're getting a Ruckman or you're getting a midfielder. It's what you want, Supercoach wise. So happy with that. Any other guys, Tice? I know you mentioned Gawn just missed your list. Sherry just missed mine. Is there anyone else that you like to look of? You might not necessarily start, but you want to keep an eye on and could take their game to another level?
Yeah, I really like Tim English with going for a more around the ground Ruckman. That's the only time he got his points. He didn't win that many hitouts. He was a massive just around the grounds kind of Ruckman. So it'd be interesting to see how he scores this year. And I reckon one that you want to have as a mention, I might just leave for you. So yeah, English would probably be the one that's stiff for me, and the guy that you're about to mention.
Yeah, I think a bit of a left field one and probably a lot of bias coming in. But if you want to mention as well, maybe not that much bias, but Darcy Cameron, I think had a huge year last year. Scored really well Supercoach wise, and he's someone that doesn't get most of his points from ruck contests as well. He's not a dominant ruckman, not a dominant tap ruckman. He sits behind the ball and he takes big intercept marks, big contested intercept marks. He tackles and he provides his impact that way, which isn't going to, if these ruck rules are huge and have a huge impact on Supercoach scoring, ruck Supercoach scoring, I think he's one that he won't waver that much. So, if your likes of Tristan Cherry, Max Gawn, those guys do drop, I think Darcy Cameron could really start to push towards that top echelon. But I think that's it, mate. In terms of the rucks, we may as well move to the final line. The forward line, we did mention, I think there's a few guys here that really stand out, but then it's just pick them for the rest. Yeah. So I'm really interested to see how you've ordered, especially the bottom half of this top 8. So I'll kick us off at number 8. I've gone Jordan De Goey, and just purely because of the upside here. I think I'm not starting him, which is crazy at this stage. I might make way for him if he continues what he's doing this preseason, but he's really training the house down at the moment, playing full-time mid. It's slim pickings up there, and I think if he is fit and playing full-time mid, I think he could definitely well and truly be in the top 8 forwards come the end of the year. So, it's a risky pick, but it's one that I think definitely has the upside.
Yeah, I like the Jordan De Goey pick. He was in my first side. He has made way for one of the guys that's going to feature later. So he's not currently in my side, but don't hate it as long as he is consistent midfield. If he's consistent midfield, I think he moves up this list a lot more than we think. There's probably the top 3 stand above the rest, and then the rest you could just, I don't know, throw a dart at. It's pretty congested in there. But my number 8 has landed on maybe a little bit of cheating here since he's meant to be a ruckman. Sam Draper. So being a solo ruck, I think, is really hard to not score points. And being an around the ground ruckman, as much as I am not too much of a fan of Sam Draper, he's just, it's too hard to not score points as the Brisbane ruckman. We saw it with McInerney for years. He consistently scored points even though he might not have been the greatest ruckman in the competition. So I feel like that's just going to be the same thing that happens with Sam Draper. So he snuck into my top 8.
Fair enough. I like it if he is solo ruck. I still think Darcy Fort plays, and that's probably my only asterisk. So he hasn't made my top 8. Which if he plays half the games a key forward, he might struggle. But he scored all right in an Aston lineup. Now he's moving to a back-to-back Premier. So who knows? If one to watch, definitely. At number 7, I've got Isaac Rankin. Big year last year to start the year, and then sort of dropped off when he played more small forward. It's a toss of the coin for Rankin. If he's playing as a small forward, you don't want him SuperCoach wise. If he's playing in a midfielder, he's going to be. If he played as a full-time mid, he's definitely pushing into that top 3, top 2, I think. He showed at the start of last year how good he can be as a midfielder. But they have heaps of midfielders, the Crows, and Rankin is dangerous up forward, so they can use him up forward. So I still think as a small forward, he can definitely be in this top 8 and pinch in the midfield. But yeah, I wouldn't be picking him unless we know he's going to be playing midfield minutes.
Yeah, I can't disagree with that. He's going to feature in my ranking maybe a little bit later, though. I've gone at number 7, his teammate in Riley Thilthorpe. I feel like he just was too good last year that people, being a key forward, it's hard to pick a key forward in Supercoach, really. And he did pinch in the ruck. He was actually very consistent last year. So, I feel like it's just with slim pickings in the forward line, he's currently going to be up there in the ranking.
Yeah. No, I like it. At 6, I've got Riley Thilthorpe for the exact same reasons you said. The ruck minutes really help his scoring and make him a lot more consistent as a key forward. So I like Thilthorpe. What about your number 6?
Yep, my number 6, similar kind of player in Sam Darcy. He just dominated the competition. He's dominating Western Bulldogs match sim at the moment. I don't have the numbers. I reckon he kicked 11 in 2 games, something like that. I don't know who he was playing on. Oh, there you go. Yeah, I don't even know who he was playing on. So take that into consideration. But it's just he dominated last year. Like, he's at 517k because he scored so well. I don't see why he can't, being so young, take his game to the next level. Keep in mind, he's got a baked in injury affected 16 in his scores, in his average for last year. So he still finished the season with a 95.6 average. I just feel like he's just going to up that again. So he's number 6 for me. What about your number 5?
Yeah, couldn't agree more. He is my number 5, Sam Darcy. So couldn't agree more. He's going to have a huge year. He's an unbelievable player. I think he breaks the mold of key forwards, and in terms of Supercoach, I think he's one you can almost pick consistently and feel pretty comfortable with. So I like the Sam Darcy pick, and I think he will be up there come season's end. Who rounds out your top 5, Tice?
Yeah, number 5, I've got Christian Petrarca. I feel like he's not going to be that straight midfielder that we are hoping for, but he's still going to play so well off that half forward line and in through the midfield that he's too hard to miss in the forward line to not be top 5. So, yeah, that's Petrarca for me. What about your number 4?
Petrarca for the exact same reasons. The role, I don't think the role's going to be there, but he's too good of a player to not be scoring well. I still think he'll average 90, 95, 90 to 100 as that playing that half forward role, pinch hitting the midfield. So in a really good side, mind you. He's struggled a bit in a struggling Melbourne side the last couple of years. Even if he's playing forward in this good Gold Coast side, I think he'll score well. So I've got him at 4. Yeah. Who's your 4?
Yeah, my number 4 is crept up there a bit, but it is for all the points that you mentioned. Isaac Rankin playing midfield is pretty hard to miss. That is provided he is playing midfield. So this is kind of a hopeful pick in number 4 because I think the top 3 stand above the rest. So I'm picking on the basis that he's full-time mid, but we need to find out more through the preseason.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. I think you're right. If he does play midfield, he'll be up there for sure. Just need to wait and see where he is playing. As we've alluded to a couple of times, I think these top 3 will be the same in terms of personnel for us 3. I'd have to guess and say the ranking could even be the same, but who knows? At 3, I have Cozzy Pickett. So I think similar to what we said with Trent Rivers, I think with Clayton Oliver and Christian Petrarca leaving that Melbourne midfield, he should be the one that steps up, and I think he'll really carry that midfield. He's the star of that team, and then he'll drift forward and score a lot of goals, and that'll definitely help with his SuperCoach score as well. So yeah, he was second, third for me. It was sort of flipping a little bit, but I've got him at 3.
Yep, same as you. I was flipping second and third a lot. And, well, actually the top 3 a lot. I don't actually have a standout forward for me, but Cosy Pickett, I think, was first at one point. I really like his game as a full-time midfielder. With no Clayton Oliver, no Petrarca, he was so good through the midfield last year. I think it's an easy pick, to be honest, to be top 3. So, yeah, he's third for me. What about your top 2?
Yeah, I completely agree. Number 2, it's sort of hard. He could really push one as well. But I've got Sam Flanders, moving from Gold Coast down to St Kilda. He showed what he could do when given the role in 2024. Averaged 119. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm not sure he went under the ton for the whole year. So it was uber consistent, played through the midfield, played off half-back, and then had a couple of back issues to start last year, and then it was just played off half-forward for the whole year and really struggled to get his mojo going. He's a midfielder. He is a ball magnet, and he's shown that for years. He racked up the pull off half-back, but he's done the same thing in the midfield. I think he'll come into that St Kilda lineup, start at the first centre bounce, and I don't think he'll miss a beat. So he's one that I'm pretty confident in starting. A lot of people are confident in starting him. He'll be a really popular starting option, and I think he'll score will reflect that come to the season's end. So I've got him at number 2.
Yep. I had him at 1 as well, but he has finished at number 2 for this video. So he, like you said, did not drop below 102 for the whole year until round 21, where he dropped a 91 and then a 93, then backed it up with back to a 120 and a 161.
Terrible scores
to finish off the year. He is so good. And yeah, like you said, ball magnet through the midfield. I think he's easy going to be top 3. And I think that's pretty obvious to who your number 1 is.
Yeah. Harry Sheezel, number 1. It's not very often you get a player of this caliber handed to you as a forward at the start of the SuperCoach year, so it's quite nice. He was sort of thrown around a little bit last year in North Melbourne colours, and but found himself in the midfield to end the year and just dominated. Really, I think he got his confidence back. Got his confidence as a midfielder in those last couple of games, especially that record-breaking disposal game against Richmond in late in the year. So yeah, I think he'll just take his game to another level. Like I mentioned before, I think North take their game to another level. I think they should win a few more games, and I think he'll be a big part of that. So, he's my number 1. I assume it's the same for you.
Yeah. But last year's at the back end, he was just so consistent. Had that after the bye, he only had one game where he sort of had a bad game, which was 60 against Hawthorn. It's in Tasmania, wind blows everywhere. I think he might have even copped a tag at some point. So, other than that, he didn't drop below 94 for that back half of the year. He's just so super consistent. I think it's just an easy pick for the forward line. One of the walk-up starts in every side, I feel.
Yeah.
Love that.
Yeah, couldn't agree more, mate. Well, that rounds out all of our rankings. In terms of the forward line itself, is there any guys that just missed the cut? We mentioned that the final 5 was sort of, throw a dart at it. Was there anyone that you wanted or close to getting into that top 8?
Yeah, mine was Adam Treloar, just to see kind of what role he has. If he's going to go through that midfield still, I think he could easily make that top 8. But even off the half-forward line, he's going to play pretty well and produce some nice scores. So he was probably one that was unlucky to miss my top 8. What about you?
Yeah, a bit of a left field one, but I think it's come with a bit of the hype around the socials and the preseason, as you do get this time of year. But Connor McDonald seems to be making that transition into that Hawthorn midfield. They've needed a bit of class through there, and they've taken their small forward and plugged him in there, it seems. So apparently, according to David King, dominating at training and looks a class above. If he can get that full-time midfield role at Hawthorn, he's averaged over 120, I think it was, in his under-18 playing as a full-time mid. So he was a midfielder when he was drafted and did really well doing so. So he's got the traits to be able to play midfield. Obviously, there's question marks there. He could play a couple bad games and go back to playing small forward. So I wasn't confident enough to put him in my top 8, but he's definitely someone with an upside.
Yeah, definitely. A nice pick there. I also don't mind the look of Zach Bailey if he's going to go through the midfield if Brisbane are going to test the waters with, Lachie Neale possibly leaving or whatever and seeing what they've got. And he's also in a contract year, it looks like. He was looking to go to Essendon at some point. So
I think he wants to play midfield. I think that's why he wants to move. So they might. I mean, he's such an integral part of that Brisbane lineup. So it might just be a point where, like, if you want to play midfield. And like you said, that'll be huge for his scoring. So, definitely one to keep an eye on as well. But that rounds us out, mate. And it's been a good prediction. I'm sure we'll look back at this at the end of the year and we both would have nailed it. Me a little bit more than you, but both very good. There was a lot of similar players, but a couple of left field picks, probably on each line as well, which is good to see. A couple of bolters coming from the sky to hopefully keep an eye on throughout the SuperCoach year. So, it's been good, mate. Like we mentioned last time, we'll have a lot of content coming your way. So keep an eye out on all of our socials and make sure you like and subscribe and reach out if you have any questions throughout the pre-season.
Yeah, enjoy.
Perfect. Thanks again, Tyce. See you guys.
Thanks, bye.